The 2021 rules change document was more than 85 pages long. We've been extremely fortunate to have Rules Guru, Don Stanley, here to walk us through the changes and to help us understand how the things in the rule book are going to impact us on the pickleball courts next year. Now, last week we talked about the drop serve, and I think that one's really going to be a game changer. So if you missed that, make sure that you click on the link and watch the rules about the drop serve. This week, we're going to talk about out calls. Yes, they are always controversial. Who can call the score, replays, and a few other things that you'll want to know about.
All right, Don, let's spend a few minutes on some general rules changes. We're just going to hit these very high level. There's some small changes in there, but that I think that they might change the game. So let's not sleep on those. So one that I thought was interesting was the non-server calling the score. Is that correct, Don?
Yes, thank you. I'm going to be quick, but there's a real good reason to talk about this. I saw on Facebook the other day that the server's partner can call the score. And I remember somebody saying, what a stupid rule. Ugh. And so what that person didn't know is that rule change was submitted by a mute person, okay? And they emailed and said, I'm not sure if I can do this per the rules. It doesn't say I can, doesn't say I can't. And so they thought, okay, let's make it clear and let's, make pickleball inviting to a person with that, issue. And so let's write a rule for it. And then it talked about, okay, if we're going, so that's simple. We can just say the server's partner can call the score. It's simple. Then we thought about, well, what if they call it and then can the server go back halfway through? And they, well, we don't want to start to be confusing. So if the server's partner is going to call the score, they have to do it for the entire game. Now, not the match, but just notify people, but you do need to do it for the entire game rather than that shut the door to the server's partner's calling the score, calling the score, and all of a sudden the server does it trying to get a quickie in, okay? So that process, people don't know that. I can't write another document of, 400 pages as to where all these rules came from. But that's a good point to bring up, that if you know the background, this person said, I appreciate your efforts in trying to make me feel more welcome into the sport. So that's, good point there, whoever called it a stupid rule.
Plus, it would seem to me, isn't the whole idea, Don, that the other team can hear the score's called, the score's correct, and we're going to start playing? Does it matter who projects that? It doesn't seem to, but anyway. Keeping with the score, Don. So the idea about challenging the wrong score, right? So the rule's been changed to where it can be challenged instead of being before the return, be challenged before the third shot. I guess my question is, what happens if I don't challenge the wrong score called before the third shot is hit?
Okay, I do want to take this opportunity to say something that ties into this. If you notice this year, there were all these different rules that were different timings. I even put a chart on Facebook one time before the start of the score call, after the score call, before the start of the service motion, after the service motion, before the serve, all these different timing elements and when to apply certain faults or actions you could or could not do. There was a big consensus and they did it. They moved everything, all of those, to one point in time, the serve of the ball. Okay. Much simpler to remember, much simpler to denote and rule upon. Now, no rule's perfect. I've found this out. Most rules have some good and some bad to them. And I think you take the one that has the most good and you go with that. So, yes, I think it's easier for refs and players. Every timing action is moved to the serve of the ball. Now I'm getting into this part. So what that allows is you can't serve until I finish calling the score. What that does mean is, and this was talked about and debated, if a server gets to know my rhythm and my cadence and my timing, okay, then they can probably time their service motion to right as soon as I end calling the score, they're hitting the ball, which is legal, okay? The thing, though, that doesn't give the receiving team much time to decipher, was it the right score with that score? Are they the correct serve? It doesn't give them, if somebody's trying to quick serve, they don't have a lot of time to process. That's why they moved the challenge of a wrong score call. They give you a little more time. Now it's moved to the third shot. Okay. So it gives you, we realize there's an opportunity. You might be quick served. So we're going to give you a little more time to process it. Now, two of the things I want to mention about this, that window of opportunity for you to challenge a wrong score called, that window shuts after the third shot happens. Why? Because let's say you know the ref called the wrong score, and let's say the ref did call the wrong score, but they didn't catch it. You go ahead and play out the rally, but you're thinking, hey, you know what? Just in case I lose this rally, then I'll pull out my wrong score called card out of my back pocket, and let's have a replay. So the window for you to challenge a wrong score called is shut after the third shot. After that, you should have said something, because you're not going to be allowed to use that as a get out of jail free card. Okay. That's why that happened. So one other aspect on that. So let's say somebody's really trying to be a quick server. I don't think it's going to be as bad as I'm hearing it be. I don't think people want to get known as a quick server, because I think that, I'll just say it, I think that goes to your sportsmanship and integrity, quite frankly. That's my opinion. I have the right to it. But let's say this. We'll just go ahead and throw these rules in here now. This year, you can ask any question, right? You can now ask the proper, am I in the right position, right? You could do that in 2016. They took it out in 2018. So some people are going, well, why do they got to keep changing the rules? Well, it was allowed all the way up until 2018. So here's the thing. When anybody asked a question, there was debate over, well, if they ask this question, if it's the server saying, you've called the score, hey, ref, am I the right server? Just nod your head and keep the 10-second count going. Well, there were some scenarios where they said, well, don't stop play, just keep the count going. Then there were other times when they said, you know what, in this situation, we do need to stop play and, you know, blah, blah, blah. So rather than have some scenarios where you stop play and some where you don't, they said, let's just make it consistent. Anytime somebody asks a question, and question, I mean, score, position, correct, server, receiver, right? Anytime you ask those questions, the ref will stop play, answer the question, recall the score. Across the board, make it consistent. So if a person is starting to quick serve you, then right before they serve, say, hey, ref, am I the right receiver? The ref has to call time. So you can combat that if they
right.
start
You can do that. So,
serving.
but what happens if the score's miscalled? You know,
Okay.
the score is actually like, you know, 3-2-1, and the score is called 6-2-1 or whatever, and you don't say anything before the third shot. Is the score now 6-2-1?
No, you just correct it after the rally. I mean, let's say if the ref calls the wrong score, right? Let's say in reality it's 6-6-1, okay?
Right.
But the ref calls 6-6-2 or 8 or 7-6-1, whatever. If the ref does call the wrong score and the ref misses it and the players don't catch it, after that third shot, you play on, and then after the rally, you might say, hey, ref, did you call the score right? Do we have 6 or 7? Then you just clear it up after that. But after that third shot, you need to just play on.
But why even have that? Right, but we get into this, a debate for another night. I don't even know why we have this rule then, because just deal with it later. But
I can tell you why. I can tell you why, because some people say, I've heard some players say, when the ref calls the wrong score, it gets in my head and it bothers me throughout that entire rally.
Yeah. Okay.
So, yeah.
All right, that's silly.
Yeah. I would never stop play over wrong score. I would say, hey, ref, we had 6, not 7. Yeah.
You know what? If you're just play, just keep playing. All right. I was worried. I'm like, why is this rule doesn't make any sense? All right, I got it now.
Because of the anal retentive people. That's why.
Yeah. One thing I want to note, Don, that I thought was really, really nice to put in the rules is, I know that replay is always an option, right? When we're playing a rec play, we can always agree to replay the rally. But I think for some players, particularly new players coming in, they're not really sure whether that's even like a thing, right? And so the fact that, and I wanted to point that out, it's in like the general kind of sportsmanship beginning part of the rules changes. I think it's an awesome thing just to recognize replay. So folks, if you're out there and you get a loggerheads with somebody, just replay the point, enjoy the day. You know what I mean? Don't lose your mind over rec play. So, all right. So CJ, I know you had a couple of things that you wanted to hit, I think, on your list of rules that you were like, let's talk about them, Don. So
these are general rules that we're covering right now. So let's see. here's what I had. We were talking about the faults subsequent to a dead ball and that it doesn't matter anymore. Can you explain what you mean by that and why that one was added?
I was marking out the questions we've gone through. I'm sorry, CJ, can you say that one more time?
Okay, it was just a clarification on the faults that subsequent to a dead ball, it doesn't matter anymore.
Are we talking about once the ball's dead, you can't call faults? Is that
right?
What?
Yep.
Okay, yeah, there need to be two reasons there. Some people thought that it was the verbalization of fault or, whatever. It was the verbalization that actually portrayed to the timing of when the ball was dead. It's not when the ref decides to inhale and then pass the air across the vocal cords. So, for example, let's say a ball is hit over to the opponents and it hits the shoulder of the opponent. Okay, so the ref sees it and the ref's inhaling to call, fault. But before he gets the word fault out, the other team who hit the ball, let's say they touch the net. Okay. Some were thinking, well, since the ref didn't say fault until later, then that player who touched the net, that fault happened first. And so it was clarified. No, balls are dead and faults happen the instant they occur, no matter when you happen to vocalize the word fault. So the moment that ball hit my shoulder, the ball is dead. No other faults can happen other than the NBZ faults. So that's why that was meant to clarify. It's not when the person says, the ref says fault.
Okay.
It's when it happens. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And one more too. There was one anomaly. Okay. When the ball's dead, you all, after rally's over, I can touch the net. I can go over to my opponent's court and pick up the ball, right? When the ball's dead, faults don't happen. Now, you can call technical warnings technical fouls, but there was one anomaly. It's when the serving team changed courts, right? And we gave the receiving team time to reposition, and they're repositioning, and then it says, if the server serves, you call a fault on them. Well, we're in a dead ball state of play. I mean, it's a dead ball. We're repositioning. Why did that one fault? Why is it the anomaly? And you still call a fault. So now that doesn't happen. You're not going to call a fault on somebody if they happen to serve because we're in a dead ball. So that's why that change happened.
Look who's back, Don. You know what's
Don, get ready, Don. It's coming at you. It's coming at you.
I've got this.
Can't help you for this one. Sorry, I'm gonna mute myself.
I've got this answer ready.
Yeah, I mean, we got it. Because, I mean, if we look at the dime thing on one side, the contact point's not a tennis ball. We know that this is touched out. So if someone's from an angle, let's say to the right to the ball, they could probably potentially clearly see it's out because the ball is round. However, the person hitting it directly above would say, no, it's in if it's just looking at the line. So I'm kind of confused. I don't know what clearly means as far as clearly seeing it out.
Okay, in a nutshell, the technicality that you just pointed out of whether a ball is in or out, you're exactly right. It's the bottom dime-sized or smaller than dimes. It's the bottom part of the physical ball that touches the ground, right? Technically, it's only out if it's 100% out. The problem is that you just pointed out, we can't see the bottom of the ball. That's the problem. So what they are trying to do is, even though technically that's the rule and that's what would stand up in court, so to speak, if we can't see the bottom of it, so they're trying to get everyone to give grace and mercy when it comes to line calls. And basically, unless you see a gap, then don't call it out, even though it very well could be out. I will say this, refereeing pros all the way down to 2.5s, the pros play them. They play the close ones, okay? So the only thing I say is they're trying to get people to say, just don't call it out unless you clearly see a gap in a space. But technically, you brought up a good point. So
I just
grace and mercy.
Well, yeah, and I still get it. I, too, typically just play it because I want to play the game. It's just a point in the big scheme of things. Like, okay, great. It's just a ball. I'm going to go home and sleep well. It's just I know what says clearly, and then there's the benefit of the doubt. If you and your teammate disagree with it, then we give that grace over to the opponents, which is awesome. It's just, I didn't feel it clearly made it any clearer. I just thought it just muddled it in a different way. And that, again, is just my opinion of reading it. And
technically the rules didn't change. They took out some wording, then took out that diagram, and then some person from Satan came up with another diagram. I don't know why. I started a GoFundMe to take that off. So
he's actually a decent guy. He reached out to me on Messenger because I was trying to find out.
Oh, did he?
He was just like, I was just trying to. Like, he didn't expect it to like people to publish it and stuff. He was just working on something for himself.
Yeah.
I was like,
we tried so hard to get that picture out, and here it came again. So
yeah.
Will a not ready signal now be honored up until the point of the serve? Was one of the questions coming in off of Facebook or off of YouTube.
That did not change. So the current rule stands. The moment the ref utters the first syllable of the score is when not ready signals are irrelevant, meaning we don't fault them and we don't honor them. So no changes with that.
Okay.
But you can ask a question. You can ask a question.
I like that. I got lots of questions.
Yeah.
CJ, I think we got to get into like the crazy, the one that got the world on fire, right?
Okay. So here's what we got. Everybody knows where we're going. And we have 2 more sections. We are going to talk about the crazy world on fire thing. And so here it comes. And then we are going to our last section. We are going to talk about some tournament specific rules.